Hey, welcome back. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining the channel. Hope you're all well. So look at what I got on my bench today. This is a PL-518 Pioneer turntable. It's a nice one too. It's direct drive. So this is how it was brought to me in the box. And it looks like it's been in storage for a while. But it looks like it's all complete. Now this is brought to me by one of my clients. He wanted me to go through it and do whatever work it needed. I see that there is a Pickering cartridge installed in the box. 1,800 yen. I don't know if that's a good price. But let's get this out of the box, have a good look at it. Okay, so we got it out of the box. It's quite heavy, very heavy. I think it's 25 pounds it said on the box. And I can see why. It's got this huge thick, 1.5 inch thick piece of slab of MDF or whatever they. It's quite heavy, but dirty, and the lid has some unfortunate scratches in it. Yeah, so I think he said there's a problem with the servo on this thing. It doesn't keep regulated speed, or I can't remember what he said, but we're going to check it all out. He wanted it at full service, so we're going to clean it all up and give it a service. Let's give it a try right now. Oh, before I do that, let's have a look at this. Looks like we have a decent cartridge on here, or a decent stylus anyway. Remove the head shell. This is a Pickering model V15. Let me check the stylus. Stylus looks good, it just needs a cleaning. And also in the box there was another head shell on the bottom. So I'm not sure exactly what he wants. If he wants me to install this one, or let's have a look at this. It's brand new. Okay. There's two in here. There is two in here. One without a stylus. Screws. This one has no stylus. This is a Pickering XSV 4000. And it's awfully tall. I wonder if that's a moving coil. It doesn't say on this box about anything. Professional heavy duty. It's I think this is DJ 625 DJ, professional heavy duty. So I guess that's what their target audience is here, or target users is DJ users. And here is the one from the box. This is brand new, it looks like. It hasn't been used. Yeah, so we could install that one, I guess. I just don't understand why there's two in the box. There's no cover for these styluses. That kind of concerns me. Looks like it's a moving magnet. Put this back away before it gets damaged. Alright, so let me put this all away and then we'll get back to it. Alright, let's plug it in, see how it does. Our strobe is on. We have no rotation from the motor. So this is just a manual turntable with automatic return. There's no button or anything to press to start it. It's manual. Everything's manual from the queuing. No, okay. So we've got some investigative work to do on the mechanism, why we don't have a turntable. Let's pull this apart. Leave the mat. The platter. Since I can gauge the automatic return. Okay, there we go. Lock that down. Let's remove the head shell one more time and put it aside so it doesn't get damaged. Alright, I flipped it over, and it looks like this is not the way in. It looks like there's a lot of stuff connected to the bottom plate here from the inside. So removing this plate won't get me in for service. One thing I noticed here is a lot of corrosion all the way around here. It's all corrosion. I hope that's not a common theme for this thing. It looks like it was stored in a damp location, or maybe got wet and something maybe got damaged. It doesn't look like this was wet, but it looks like the wood was wet, and the wood feels kind of, I don't know, maybe it's swollen in some spots. But anyways, let's flip it back over and we'll go in the top. I had a little peek at the service manual, and it shows us going in at the top. Let's remove this, put it aside, and let's pull off this cover. Oh yeah, there's corrosion. It was definitely damp. The screws are all corroded. You can see corrosion on these screws. It's not looking good. Ooh. And once they corrode, they lock themselves in too. They don't want to turn. All right. So we have power because the strobe light is on. This is neon, and this is on the primary side of the mains. Switch is working. We just don't have anything else working. And I see a blown fuse here. So let me get my power disconnected. Pull this fuse out. This is a 500 milliamp. All right. Power supply board there. And I'm assuming the rest of the electronics is under the motor, which is, I think, yeah. Date code 16th of December 1977 for those that are playing along. Here's a look at the mechanism. The motor. Little power supply down here, transformer. It's the main power switch. Got a neon strobe light here underneath, and then there's a speed switch. So let's replace this fuse. Okay, got a new fuse. Let's put it in and try it out. Okay. I wonder, let's put the platter back on, because it might need that inertia. Okay, seems to be working now. We're on 33 and this thing's going like a banshee here. I don't think that's 33. We don't have any lock on any speed here. No, it's not locking on a speed. You try 45. Let me turn this light off. I don't know if you can see the strobe, but it's all over the place. Here, I'll zoom in a bit. See how the speed's changing? It's jumping up and down. Put it back on 33. Yeah, it's not stable at all. It's just all over the place. Okay, so what is that? We don't know yet. Let's have a look at the mechanism. Now I should be able to remove these 3 screws, and this motor should slide out. Let's try that. Okay. We're tied down here with a cable tie. Again, twist this. There. There we go. Now we got full access to the motor. Now we have a number of capacitors on here. I can see, let's see here, I can see doesn't look like any of them are leaking, but they are the Panasonic ones that are famous for leaking. Let me cut another tie here. Okay, I get better access. It's unplugged, by the way. It's kind of dragging. Let's open up the motor. Yeah, I'd say it's kind of sticky. We'll have to relube all this. So looking at the motor here, it's not very service friendly. I removed 5 screws from the back here and this board is free, but I'm tangled up with these really fine wires, and you don't want to break any of these wires. These go directly to the coils, and there's no repairing that if one of these wires get pulled out. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put the board back in its position. I don't want to flex it too much because they're solid wires and they'll snap right away. So I'm going to just mount this board back down with a screw or 2. And then I'm going to desolder. Let me get this here first. There's 6 capacitors on the board, and even though I checked them with my ESR meter, they checked okay. I still want to replace them because they're 1977 and it's 2022 right now. What is that, 45 years old or more? Yeah, I just want to replace it. So I'm going to get my solder wick. I'm going to wick up all the solder joints on all those caps, and then I'll remove the board carefully, pull the caps out and replace them, and then I'll put it all back together. Okay, made a decision here. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to remove these, there's 3 here, and a bunch of wires here. I'm just going to remove them. And I'm going to just tape them down to the motor. The problem is you have to keep them in order. You can't mix them up. So let me remove these 3. Where is it? I can't see it. Okay, got those 3 out. Now if I can get these to lay flat, I can hit them with a piece of tape, tape them down, and they should stay right there. Okay, next 3. Very fine, and you don't want to break any of these. I figure it's just going to be too difficult to get underneath this board to pull these caps out and get the new ones back in place without breaking one of these wires. So I just want to be proactive and remove the wires first. Got 2 out. They'll cooperate. Let's see the last one. Okay. Got 2 of them anchored, but get the 3rd one underneath. Okay. Now we got one more wire to remove. Actually, it's a bundle of wires. Let's do this one here. And I can just let these ones float. I don't need to tape them down. Now we can remove the board and separate the 2. There we go. Put this aside. Now we got better access. Okay, I'll get on to changing these caps. Yeah, I don't see any of them leaking. They are the Panasonic ones though that do leak, so I'm going to change them. Alright, so I got the caps replaced, and I have the board reinstalled and soldered the wires back on. Now let's move on our attention over to the bearing, where we can get some new oil on this. This stuff looks pretty old. A little bit dirty too. Okay, let's put this aside. Let's get I'm just using this stuff. This will instantly dissolve any petroleum-based lubricants. And I think we got it clean. It's quite dirty down there. Let's get another one. Okay. This all nice and clean. I'm just going to use 3-in-1 and apply a little bit on the shaft just to get this dust off here first, because that'll just get dragged down into the bearing. Okay. Give it a generous drop. And we're good. The retainer. Okay, we can reinstall that motor. These were torqued quite well, so we'll give them a good... Okay, before we go any further, let's test the motor. Okay, let's try the motor out before we go any farther. Reinstall the platter, plug it in. And let me zoom in on the strobe so you can see what's going on here. Let's try adjusting. Yeah, it's still jumping all over the place. It is not happy. 45, same thing. So what we're going to need to do is we need to get in, but clean these two switches and controls. Switch in the pot, I should say. And to do that, we need to remove this whole assembly with the tone arm. So let's get at that right now. You're going to need a 3mm Allen key, and these are actually wood screws. These cap heads, they look like machine bolts, but they're not. They're wood screws. Pull it all four. Now, what else do we need to disconnect here? Oh, there's one screw here, I think we need to remove. Oh wow, that's tight. Okay, so this should all come out as a unit. We can flip this over. Let me unplug this thing first. I got this thing plugged in. Not paying attention to what I'm doing here. Okay, let's flip this over so we can get at this. How are we going to do this? Here's the two controls. Oh, there's two screws here. Maybe if I just remove these two screws, they'll pop off of the base. I think it will. Yeah, so let me do that. And the other one is release this wire tie, maybe it'll help me, give me more. There we go. Okay. Now I can clean these two. Switch and a potentiometer. Okay, what are we going to clean it with? I'm going to use this to clean, neutral. We can check this pot too. What value is it? It's a 5K. All right, let's check it. All right. Connect up our leads. Actually, let's zero our meter first. $5K. Okay, it's at 5K right now. Oops. Now what I'm looking for is smooth action on the needle. So it's without it getting all twitchy. That looks good. If the pot was dirty, it would be twitching as I turned it. But it looks clean. I'm going nice and slow. I don't see any dead spots. So that pot's good. Alright, let's treat it with some deoxit. I'm going to use the green fader. And this is designed for potentiometers and faders. Give it a small drop, half a drop. And that should be it. Okay. Now for the switch. I'm just going to use deoxit D5, spray it through this top hole. And just work it. It's a strip screw here. That'll be from the factory. Okay, let's wipe up. Let's check these contacts with a meter. Put my thing on resistance. Okay, I'm getting 14 milliohms, 13, 11, 17, 10, 12, 12, 11. So it's looking not too bad. Let's try the other side. $15, 11, 12, 12, 10. Yeah, okay, that switch is good. It's going to be consistently low readings. That's what we want to see. Okay, I'll reinstall that, and then we'll look at the rest of this mechanism and see what it needs for lubrication and grease. Hopefully not too much. Looks pretty. Okay, one thing I want to do while I got it apart like this and I have the top deck all exposed, you can see the staining. I don't know if that's nicotine stain or what that is. It's all the way around. One thing I find that works great for surfaces like this is kind of like a vinyl, and maybe it's not a vinyl, it's almost like a countertop type. But I use this stuff. This is a caustic cleaner. It contains some caustic chemicals that can attack aluminum. So that's why I cover up the tone arm assembly, and then I can just spray a little bit on and give it a clean. You can see the filth that comes off. One thing you got to do is check to make sure it's safe with the lettering. You don't want to damage any lettering. Yeah, that's getting rid of the stain. Makes it look a lot better. See how filthy that was. Just the top surface. I haven't even done the sides yet. So what I'll do is I'll go over it with glass cleaner, and I'll remove any traces of this stuff with glass cleaner, and then it'll really okay. That's all the cleaning I'm going to do for now, and then after I reassemble, I'll clean some more. Alright, let's tie into this mechanism here and lubricate everything. We got some points we need to lubricate. We need to lubricate this cam under this gear, and it feels kind of stiff. This mechanism here that's pushing on this lever, this rod, is actually lifting the cuing. So in order to get to that, I have to remove this plate. So let's just tie into this. Let's remove this switch, get it out of the way for now, and put it aside, because we don't need to be breaking wires on the switch just from us flexing it. Let's remove this. Now, let's pull off this lever here. Take off the E-clip. Put it aside, out of the way. And I wonder if that will give us enough room. No, that won't. What I want to do is remove this wheel, this gear. So let's remove this E-clip as well. Put this one aside. They're different size E-clips, so it shouldn't. And then this wheel won't come out either. Or will it? If we force it a bit, it might come out. It does. Yeah, a lot of this grease needs to be replaced. So we'll put that aside. We'll do that before we reassemble. What do I want to do? Flip this over. And I have 2 screws here to remove. Let's remove these 2. Let's remove this bottom plate. Make sure I'm not bending anything. Okay, oops. Now we got full access to the mechanism. This is what I was talking about for greasing. This is the mechanism that slides and raises there's a little ramp here. And this was what raises the queuing. So we're going to clean all this grease out. Let's take this off first. Just looking at what we need to grease here. We've got a portion back here, 2 spots here on this. So let's remove this screw. Put this aside. So I disconnect the spring. Okay, clean that up. Now we got one more E-clip and a plastic washer. Remove these 2. All right, now we can clean it up. And replace all this grease. You see this grease is pretty black. So let's put this back together. Okay. Put that screw back. Let's reattach our spring. Now for the wheel. Let's clean this groove out. It's all old grease. Okay, let's re-grease this. Actually, let's take this needle off first. Ooh. Got plenty on there now, I think. Let me do a test run. There we go. Okay. Good. Let's put this back together. Alright, I did all of that work and I forgot to put in this lever. This lever fits underneath and it actually activates the power switch. So if I can pop this, pop that P-clip out. Maybe I can just slip it under there. It's always something we forget, eh? Take this wash off before I lose it. Now this sits underneath and I think it slides on here, so I'm just going to clean this off. Pivots, I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on here because it does slide on here. Let's put a little bit. Now if I can just lift this up, slide it under, just like that. Okay. No harm done. Okay, put this back on. Okay. This activates the switch. And the tone arm hits on here and it activates the switch when you, okay. So that's feeling much better. It's not as sticky as it was. Now we can put together the rest of this. Put a little bit of lube on this. Actually, I did that backwards. Okay, let's put some on this side. Okay, one more E-clip. I thought I heard something fall, and it was an E-clip. The problem is with these little E-clips is you work around magnetic tools and it picks them up, right? Oh, no, it's not going to show me wrong. Okay, well, let's just put it back together. And you throw the E-clip down on your bench, and then you throw the tool down on your bench, and then the magnet tracks. All right, everything's back together. So we can put this together with this, marry these two back together. Just like that. I don't think we need to mesh anything here. I think everything's good. All we need to do is put 2 screws back in. So let's do that now. Let me unplug this. This is unplug the phono cables. There, makes it a little easier. So let me get a couple screws ready. 1 screw here. Let's see if we can line this up. Okay, then we can just connect up the other screw. All right. Torque those down in a bit. I just want to check its function. What am I sitting on? Wrong hole. There we go. Okay. Okay. It's down, up, down is working. That's working. Oh, it raises. Okay, that's correct. I don't think it's supposed to return the tone arm. I'm not really sure about that. I don't think it does. Yes, it does actually. It returns the tone arm. Okay. Seems like it's all functioning. So let's put it all together. Let me tighten those screws. Torque these down. Reinstall the switch. Okay. And the last thing I need to do before I secure everything is reattach our phono cables. All right. So everything's serviced. There's really nothing to do with the gimbal bearings. They are ball bearings and they really don't need any cleaning. It looks like, you know, there's no reason to go in there and to do any work because it's just free floating. Everything's good. So I'm just going to close this all up. Okay, so I got the arm assembly all mounted back. These little screws here are into particle boards, so don't over torque these. Just seat them so that there's no play between the shoulder of the little screw head and the base. Now all we got to do now is just do some wire wrapping and tying up the wires. And I think we're ready to close this up. Give it another test. We still haven't tested our speed regulation yet. Oh, one thing we need to do is speed regulation and speed calibration. And I think we can do, it's closed, I think we can do the calibration from below. I think there's some holes here. Yes, there are. You can see they're right in the middle of the screen. There's two holes, 33 and 45. We can do our adjustments from down there if we need to, which is fine. We don't have to tear everything apart again. So everything's completed here. So I can get some of these wires out of the way. Everything's good. Okay, we put our cover back on. And I did clean it, but it's kind of a film on it. Okay, I'll screw this down and then we'll do a test on the speed. Okay, a few words on cleaning. I cleaned all this around here with just a paper towel and some glass cleaner, and just went in and did a overall job. And then get in with a Q-tip. You can get in these crevices with all these crevices with a Q-tip. Get down in here, all around in this queuing mechanism, and kind of looks a little better now. I think looks a lot better. It's pretty dirty. For the platter, what I did is I used glass cleaner and just sprayed around the edge here and just scrubbed it with a toothbrush all the way around until I was satisfied, and then rinsed it off with clean water, and it's all ready to go in now. Okay, and for the mat, what I used is I just used the spray 9 and I sprayed it until it was all saturated, and then I scrubbed it with a brush. And that's the only way you can do it. You have to get a brush to get down into these grooves and get all that dirt and grime that's been piling up over the last 40 years and get down to the bottom. And it came out really nice. It's still a little wet though. I'll just let it air dry some more. But let's check the speed on this because I'm kind of curious as to how it's working now. Let's turn off our light. And we are at 33. Okay. 33 should be our outside one. Let me try adjusting this. And that is at the limit of adjustment right there. There's still some jitter going on. I can see some jitter in the strobe. Now I'm wondering if that's a problem within the motor. The field sense coil is maybe weak, or the magnets are weak. Let's try 45. See, that's right at the limit of adjustment too. It's having a hard time stabilizing. and we are way out of adjustment. So I'm going to have to go and adjust those two potentiometers underneath. What I want to do is I want to have it so that when this knob is in the center of its rotation, it's locked and at the correct speed. So you have a plus and minus adjustment here. But right now I have no minus adjustment, not enough minus adjustment, and way too much plus. Okay. Plus, another thing you want to consider is when you switch between speeds, you want it to have it lock in right away. You don't want to have to fiddle with the knob every time you change the speed. So that's what the adjustments underneath are for too. If you find that it's locked on 33, but when you switch it to 45 you always have to adjust it, you can adjust underneath so that they both are locked when you switch speeds, which is the way it should be. This motor is really having troubles. Doesn't have much torque either. Okay, let me do some adjustments. Let's see here. I wonder if I can flip this up. Okay, let me do the adjustments. It's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty fiddly. All right, don't laugh. This is what I came up with. It's going to be effective though. It's going to work. Yeah, so now what I've done is I set the potentiometer here to the center of its rotation, and it's drifting. I noticed it's kind of changing on its own, so I'm going to set this up. I'm going to go underneath. I got a ceramic screwdriver here so that I don't short it out. And hit the trim pot. Maybe this trim pot is not very nice. It's okay, right about there I have it. It's steady. Well, let me adjust it a little bit better than that. Probably should have hit those little trim pots with some deoxit before I put it back together. Would have been a good idea. Okay. Right there it's stable at one speed. So what we'll do is we'll switch it to 45. And it's way out. So we'll adjust the other trim pot. Just going to go back and forth a few times just to clean the track. And that's stable there. Rock steady. Okay, try the other speed. Okay, they're both pretty much locked when I switch, so I don't have to adjust this. I don't have to adjust the pot up here when I switch speed. So when I go to 45, 33, they should pretty much be bang on. I'm going to let this turntable run for a few hours. The 45 speed is starting to get stable. I can see it's stable, but when I go to 33, it's got some jitter. And I'm just going to let it run for a while. Maybe that jitter will go away on its own. Seems to be getting better as it runs, so I'm just going to let it run for a while. Alright, this thing's been running for quite a while now, and it's warmed up. But you can see, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, that little bit of jitter in the speed. in the bottom strobe there. It's a very slight jitter, and it should be stable. If I go to 45, it turns stable. And you can see there's no jitter on 45. It's rock solid. But if I go to 33, a little bit, see, it wobbles back and forth, and it speeds up, slows down, and then it has a jitter. I'm beginning to think maybe there's something wrong with that motor. Let's go look at the schematic, see if we figure this out. Alright, so I opened it up once again. I'm going to have another look at this motor. So maybe there's something I missed. And I got it all removed here. Just going to get this out. One thing I never did is I never checked the coil resistances, or the coil windings. Let's see if we can do that. We have 6 coils up top here. One side is all connected with a common, so there's six wires, and I can see there's a bundle of wires on this side, and then there would be 6 individual wires for each of the coils. 3 of them have diodes, 3 of them go straight to the chip. So let me see here. The three that have diodes are the green wires, and then there's a red, green, and natural color wire here. So let's check some of these out. Common on this side. Here is one coil, 65 ohms. 67 ohms. 60 ohms. Okay. So those 3 are working. Let's look at these 3. 130 ohms. This one's open. Next one. 123 ohms. So we have one open winding here. That would explain the choppy speed on the motor. So we have to figure out if that's repairable or not. It's one of those green wires. Okay, looks like I'm going to have to disassemble this motor, so we can have a good look and see if we can find the brake. If we can't find the brake, we can't fix the motor, right? If we can find the brake, maybe we can bridge it and get it back going again. I just want to look at this thing. I don't know if I have enough. Let me count these wires. I should have 6. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I got 6 wires here. I think I have 6 wires. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So that's good. What I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to remove this board, remove the magnet, and I'm going to have to separate the motor stator from the plate so I can get a good look at it. That's too bad. Doesn't look good for this motor. Okay, let's see if we can look at this motor and see if we can figure out what's going on with the open winding. So what I want to do is take it apart so I can inspect the coils. There's not much you can do for a motor if a winding coil is gone. See, like for example on top here, I don't see anything going on. But what I want to do is remove this plate because I can't inspect this side. So let's remove 3 screws. If we can find the brake and fix it, then we can save the motor. But if we can't, the motor's pretty much gone. You can't rewind the motor like this. It's just too complicated. Wound by a machine too, so yeah, let's have a good look here. Let's try tugging on some of these wires. This is really loose. Look at this. It's not wound very well at all. Okay. Two, three. A lot of these green wires are loose. I wonder if they got hooked. I don't know if you can see how loose these wires are. They shouldn't be that loose. When they wind these, should be a lot better than that. I'm not seeing what's going on here. Not finding anything. This wire here. It would be one of these green coils. Oh, what's this? No. Just fold it over. There's no loose wires I'm finding. I don't know where it's broken. So poorly wrapped. No, I'm not seeing anything here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a magnifying lens and I'm just going to check all these coils. And I'm going to see if I can see a break anywhere on the green ones. If I can't, there's nothing else I can do for this. It looks like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of loose wires here though, that's the problem. If I tug on them, they, like this here. Loose, loose. I'm wondering if one of these got snagged and cut. Shouldn't wrap your motors having loose wires like this. They should be, yeah. Okay, I had a good look at this and I can't find where the brake is. You gotta appreciate how these are made. They start winding from the inside and they do all the red coils first. And each coil is actually wound with two wires. You see the red there, and then it's wound with a blue wire. And I'm not sure if they have the same number of turns. I think they would. But so there's two two sets of windings on this. This is the motor windings, which is the red, green, and natural color. And then there's also a sense, I believe it's a sense winding, which is wound in unison with the other winding, but it's separate, except that this end where it's all converged into one connection. And then you have the blue wires. You got a blue wire in this one, a blue wire in the green, and a blue wire in the red. Now, I'm pretty sure that the brake is in the green winding, but I can't tell where it is unless I start scraping insulation off and testing on each coil. And then I can pinpoint which coil it is, but there's no fixing this other than rewinding it. I'm not surprised it's got a broken winding considering how sloppy this was wound. There is a lot of slack on some of these, and it's pretty poor quality. I'm assuming maybe during the manufacturing of this coil, one of these lines got snagged and cut, and that's why it's open. But it's hard to say. It's hard to say. So to fix this, you need to remove all of the natural color windings. You'd have to remove each coil individually, unwrap them. You count the number of turns, put the wire aside. You probably reuse the wire if you had to. And then once that's done, then you can work on the green coils and find the brake. You'd start unwrapping from one end, unwrapping, and keep going until you find the brake. Once you found the brake, you repair it, and then you start winding it back together again. And it'd be a labor-intensive project, that's for sure. It'd take a lot of hours and determination and skill. I don't know if I have that kind of skill. My pay scale doesn't go up that high, I don't think. So it doesn't look like this motor is repairable. Not on my level anyway. Alright, we're back together again. See, now the motor won't even start. If it's on a dead spot, the motor won't start. But if I help it along, you can see it's still twitching. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see how the speed is twitching. It hits that dead spot on the motor and it slows down and then it speeds up. Even on 45, it's still a little bit there. Let me see if I can adjust this. Still doing a bit of twitching. Yeah, that motor needs to be replaced. And there is actually one for sale on eBay right now, but to get it at my door, it would cost $100. And I don't know if the owner is willing to spend $100 on this turntable. It is a good turntable, but $100, it's a lot of money. So I'll give it back to him and I'll let him decide what he wants to do with it. I want to put a cartridge in and have a listen to how it sounds. Alright, so let's set up the tone arm for this cartridge. This is the one that was supplied. So I got the counterweight set for a negative weight here. Let's turn this up until we just come down and touch the album. Here we go, getting close. Still floating. So we are down around 0 grams right now. It's just barely tipped, so let's center this here. And then we'll turn this up to 2 grams. And we'll measure that with a scale. Let's get rid of this album. Scale. and we're at 2.25, so it's a gram and a quarter. So it's a little bit out. We can adjust that. Let's go down a quarter gram. Right there. And we're at 198. Good enough. Okay, so I hooked it all up and tried it out, and this thing is pretty much unlistenable. Here, I'll give you a short sample without copyright. See how the motor is speeding up and slowing down, and you can see it on the strobe as well. It's not very good, so definitely needs a motor. It just sounds horrible.
And the dreams I always meet.
Yeah. So that's as far as I can take this one. I'll get in contact with the owner and let him know what's up with this, and it's in his balls in his court what he wants to do with it. Alright, so since last time I shone a camera on this thing, it was March 28th, 2020, and now we're into May, which is 5 weeks later. So what I did is I contacted my client and I told him, like, look, this turntable is not going to survive if it doesn't get a new motor or a replacement motor. There's just nothing I can do with it. And thanks to him, he followed through and provided me with a used motor. And this is awesome because he had it drop shipped to my house. And let's see if I can get this open now. It's sealed. I'll get this motor out and I'll check it over. And probably what I'll do is I'll replace the caps in it. I'll replace these caps that are on the board, and we'll check this motor out and put it in and get this turntable going. So give me a minute to get things prepped. Okay. Let's have a look at this. What do we got here? Yeah, it's got the original caps in it. Looks very nice though. Just like a drop-in. Well, this is cut. It doesn't matter. What I could actually do is I could just take the board off the other motor and swap it onto here. All I have to do is the seven connectors for the motor wires. Let's check these first. Make sure we got our 3 phases. Get my old meter out here and make sure we have all our 3 phases intact, because the other motor had an open phase and it wasn't running. Where are we? Okay, so these 3 and then these 3, and then this is our common back here. Can't see. I can't see my meter. Okay. 117 ohms. 137. Why is the difference? 125. Okay, I think these 3 are the sense coils because they got higher resistance, and then these ones are the motor windings. These ones are 60 ohms, 67, 67. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll just remove these 7 wires, or yeah, I'll just remove the 7. I'll just swap the board with the other motor. That'll be the quickest way of doing it. I don't have to change caps, and then the wiring is already there and it's not cut, so we can do that. To lubricate this motor, we're going to use good old 3-in-1. Okay. We're done. Put it all back together. Pretty confident this is going to make this turntable work again. Well, I have no doubts because the motor winding was open, and there's no way that motor is going to operate with an open winding correctly. Okay, let's zip this guy down, and we got our motor. Now, like I said, I shouldn't have to readjust the trim pots because we already did the trim pot adjustment, and I think the speed will be okay. Okay, here we go for a first test. Let's turn this thing on. And we have a little bit of drift. Let's see here, and I can null it out with the control. Seems to be working okay. Let's try 45. Everything looks good. Okay. Does it look good, or is it tricking me? Let me try adjusting this some more. $33. Seems okay. So let's have a look at the stylus. So we got it under the little microscope here, and we're looking at it, and it looks clean. Not clean, it looks intact. It looks like a conical. Let me just hold it still here. It focuses. It looks like a conical diamond. I'm going to clean it though. This cantilever is filthy. Look at all this. I don't know what this yellow crystalline stuff is all over the cantilever, but I'm going to hit it with a swab of alcohol, and let's see what we can do for this thing. Okay. Just going to get this. I'm going to clean off the stylus mostly so you can have a good look at it. Can't really do much with the cantilever because it's all... I can't get in there with a Q-tip and can't get it from below. But I can clean the stylus tip, and let's have a look. Oh yeah, it's nice and clean now. And it looks like it has... Let me try tilting it towards the light. The focus is part of a problem here. Can't really see it. It is there. I'll try turning this some more. There. Yeah, it looks... The stylus looks really good. It was just a little dirty. And no problem here. Alright, so I got the motor installed. Everything's connected back up, and I gave it a full test on the album playing. It's playing at a correct speed. It's staying stable. It's all good now. So the turntable is fixed now that I replaced the motor. I still have one little issue that needs attention, and that is the auto return. When the stylus hits a certain point on the album, it's to trigger the mechanism inside and auto return. And the way it was set up, it was auto returning probably when the stylus was about right about here, about 1/8 of an inch away from the end of the album. This when they cut the LP, every LP is a different length of time, and you get about 20 minutes on each side, or 22 minutes on each side of an LP. But this end point for the groove is going to differ for every album, because the music doesn't always stop at the same time, right? Pioneer has a spec that when the stylus gets to 62 millimeters from the center point, so let's put a ruler here at 62 millimeters. So that's where the stylus should actually trigger and pick up. The inner groove is continuous, and that is typically around right there, 53, 54 millimeters from the center. That's where the inner groove is. That's where the lathe cuts the inner groove. And the Pioneer wants the turntable to trigger the auto return right at 62 millimeters, which is about there. But it was actually triggering back here at about 70 millimeters. So how do we adjust it? It's pretty simple. There is a little rubber plug here on the top by the tone arm. You just remove this plug. And be careful, my tone arm's locked. Okay, so let's pull this plug out. And you're going to look down and see, you're going to see nothing. It's going to be white plastic. But let's plug this in and we'll test it. What I've done is I adjusted it fully clockwise on the screw. There's a little screw that will appear when the tone arm goes across. Let's get the once the tone arm gets to about this point, you're going to see a screw appear in the hole. Now let's put this tone arm down and see. Now before it was triggering by this point and it was always auto returning, so we don't want that. We want the tone arm to be set up properly. So we're getting close to the end of the song. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, it's over. And it's going to do the lead in. And it should trigger right about there, but it isn't. So what I'm going to do is adjust this counterclockwise just until the arm picks up. I'm holding it right about 62. I'm slowly going counterclockwise. holding the tone arm at the trip point, I'm just going to slowly turn the screw counterclockwise until it triggers. So let's just do this. See if it triggers on its own. Oh, not yet. Still not at the happy spot. So let's pull this back and let's keep going on the screw counterclockwise. Should be getting pretty close there. Let's try it again. Drop the needle. It's going to lead in. It's not triggering yet. We got the trigger point set in beyond the inner groove. Let's try this one more time. Drop the needle. It is triggering, but it's triggering late. It's actually triggering right around, where are we here? Probably about 55, 56 millimeters. Let's try it one more time. Just drop this here. Yeah, it's triggering too late. Let's that time it didn't even trigger. Let's go some more. Okay, that should be good there. Let's drop the needle, see how it returns. That's odd. Should be going. Try it one more time. Okay, let's try this one more time here. Drop the needle. Okay, it's close. It's very close. I would say it is triggering right about here, 57. So let's give it a little more adjustment. And we'll see if we can get this more spot on. Just do a little bit more. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay, it's triggering right around 59. Okay, let's one more test, just to make sure it's right on spot. And it seems we are good. Okay, I'm gonna leave that adjustment alone. Before it was triggering way too early, and even when the song was playing, it would return. Just put the plug back in, and we'll leave it at that. All right, so I'm done with this one. I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to send it back to its owner, and it's quite a nice turntable. This one's been sitting in my to-do list for a long time, so I finally got it finished. It's nice. I feel good about this now that it's done, and get it back to the owner, and he can start enjoying it. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.